and it's going to come down to your feet. So we're going to see his hind legs coming out of the back, coming down, dropping down here. Now the other thing I want to do, and this is a trick we'll talk about later, to make the hind legs look like they're further away than the front legs, what I'm going to do is bring the front legs lower on the page. And they're just going to kind of be straight here. So what I'm going to do is come in here and just kind of sketch some simple triangle shapes or cone shapes, see, coming down like this to represent where I want the front legs. And his feet are going to fit inside of some little ovals here, so I'm going to sketch in a couple ovals. So, okay, I've got the body, the head, the front legs, feet. Now, the back feet I'm only going to put about right here, because a very interesting thing that happens with us is as something moves up on the page, it appears to move back in space. Up on the page, back in space. Down on this page, it comes forward. So I'm going to start out first of all with a couple of little ovals like I did for the front feet to show that this is where I want the back feet to be back here. So it looks like they're further away. And then the legs are going to come out of the back of his body here, and so I'm just going to work. I need some great big kind of just very stretched out C shapes for now. And let's do the same thing on the other side. Alright, that's where his back legs will be, back feet. And now let's sketch in some ovals. And we said that his eyes stick up on top kind of, so we're going to make them fairly large. You know, I could make them really big or I could make them really tiny. So I might just kind of play around, kind of imagining different sized eyes till I come up with, let's see, let's try something like that. Yeah, I kind of like that. Now I can always change that in my sketch if I wanted to. I could make them a little smaller. Now remember, I showed you last time this neat tool. It's called a kneaded eraser. And we knead it like bread is kneaded, or pull and stretch it, to clean it, also to make it flexible. So let's say I sketch those in. Since it's light, I can come back very quickly and easy, remove those eyes and say, let's try them a little smaller. Let's see what they look like smaller. Well, that's kind of cool. It's a different look, you know. But you know what? I like the bigger ones. So I'm going to erase these back out. And as long as my drawing is light, it works very quickly. I'm going to come back in now and sketch in my larger circles. And we've got our frog kind of mapped out. Body, head, eyes, back legs, front legs. Alright, so we've made our plan. We've imagined first where he fit on the paper, and then we've kind of imagined these other parts. Now, as I look at this, I'd like my frog to have a great big smile, because remember, we can exaggerate stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take here and I'm just going to sketch back and forth this great big stretched out smiley line. So we get the idea that he's got this huge giant smile. And I'm going to, as I'm looking at this, I like this kind of line down here because it gives me the feeling that maybe my frog's a little sleepy, but the curve's wrong. So what I want to do is I want to come back and I'm going to put a line where it was, but I'm going to put the curve the other way. See, so it looks like his eyes are partly closed. And his little eyeballs are going to be here, and I'm only going to show the bottom roundness of the eyes. I'm not going to show the whole thing, because again, he's kind of sitting there, maybe starting to go to sleep. Somehow that one's a little big. If he was sleepy, I wouldn't see so much of his eye. Now, notice I've changed my hand position, because here I need to do a little more careful shape and drawing, and we can do that holding the pencil in the regular position. You just want to do your layout and your sketching with this position. When you need to do detail, you can grab it this way because this makes small motions, little details very well. Where when you're mapping, you want to be able to draw big lines and move freely. Alright, since this is a smile line, I think even too what I'm going to do is out here on the corner, I'm going to put some little C shapes to help give the feeling of that smile that he's got, his puffy kind of cheeks. And maybe from his cheeks it's going to run up into his head, something like this. Well, our frog is starting to get some character. And I don't know, I feel he needs a chin. But I don't want a big chin, I want a little tiny chin. Or I could have a big chin. Again, what I might do is sit here and imagine, here's a big chin. And that kind of baggy chin, kind of neat. Or it might just be a little tiny cute chin like this, because maybe he's a very young frog. He hasn't been around very long, and he hasn't developed. One of the interesting things that we'll learn and work at as we go on is that we can get the feeling of age in a drawing, because one of the really interesting things in our face, from this part down to the chin, this section right here, grows almost our entire life. A baby, this area is very, very small. The mouth and chin in relationship to the whole head is quite small. As we get older, the jaw gets bigger, it gets wider, it gets longer this way. So that's something that we can use as a technique to get across the feeling of age. So I think I want this frog to be pretty young, so I'm just going to sketch some little tiny half circles down here. And those are going to represent his little double chin. And then I think I'm just going to kind of say I'm going to bring it up to where the puff on his smile is. Alright, we're really kind of starting to see our little frog guy in here. And again, it's still sketch, everything's pretty light. A nose, and I think I'll just keep the nose really small, some little tiny circles, just to indicate that he has a nose. Alright, so we've got kind of the face laid out. His body, or it's going to come from his neck, I think what I'm going to do is, part of it is we want the leg to look like it's behind. And you know, I mentioned the thing here about if it's down low, it looks close. If it's up high, it looks further away. Another interesting technique in line is if the front line overlaps where the back line comes in. So what I'm going to do with this line, I'm going to start way up here by the edge of his mouth, and I'm going to curve this line down, but I'm going to come down quite a ways past where his leg is. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Again, I'm kind of getting the feel of where I want the line, sketching it in lightly first before I actually draw it in. His leg is pretty much, maybe it's where it's going to go there. I might make it just a little fatter on the top and come in. See, I'm making my line curve here. Kind of makes it look like he's got a bulgy knee because it goes out and then this curves back in. So I want to get the same feeling over here if I can. I'll make that a little wider, and then I'm going to curve this line in like this. Now this is where the idea that practice and rhythm is kind of important, because you get the feeling of the line coming up and then turning back in. Now what I'm going to do back here is, our frog is sitting on a big rock. So I'm going to draw a curved line coming right about where the foot is on both sides and curving down. So it looks like there's a big rock sitting here and he's sitting on the top of the rock. You know, oftentimes you'll see a frog sitting on a rock. And what I'm going to do for his feet is I'm just going to, for right now, I'm going to sketch in 3 little circles. I've made the center one a little bit bigger than the other two. So there is where his feet are going to be. So what I'm going to do is this line that came down, I'm just going to spread it out a little bit to the foot so it looks like it blends into the foot. And again, because this line comes down and this comes and stops at it, makes this foot look like it's back behind the body here. So that helps position the parts of the body.